Welcome. Hi, this is Carol from SkillCheck. I'm going to be talking today about beyond the sales script. And really, that's building better customer sales and conversations, really, right? So let's go to it. Why customers prefer conversations as opposed to a script. For me, the script, it's just not, if you're reading that, they know it and it's not natural. And people really appreciate that genuine interest in their situation. And if they feel like you're reading from something, it's not like a conversation. It's almost like not looking at a person when they're in the office and you're talking to them, you're busy doing something else. But you want to think and about this that every storage need is somewhat unique, right? And you have to find out what that is. So you want to be authentic in not only your conversations, but making customers feel valued. And that really does take you to be able to stop and, listen to what they're saying. And we're trying to build trust. And that leads to higher conversion rates. It absolutely does, because there is no way that if you're a genuine salesperson and trying to help this person get to the right thing that helps them with their storage needs, that's going to make the difference. So I think it's still important for people to have some kind of guide to go through their process. And for many, many years, I've used this sort of system that we have here that you can see, as having a nice greeting, asking inquiring questions, listening to the customer, right? Providing solution, and inviting them down and closing the sale. And it's really not a script if you find a rhythm to that. And it gives you some consistency, right? And some confidence in your sales ability too. But it's really important information that you don't want to miss. So if you have a script generally, or a guideline, if you will, it's really going to be helpful for you. It's sort of that safety net. It's not a crutch or anything, but it's something that, you can look back down and say, yeah, this is where I was going next. But think of scripts as like a roadmap and not such a, word for word speech, because you're trying to just interact with the customer in a normal way and not just have them sit and listen to you read something, because that is horrible and it doesn't work very well at all. The difference between reading and conversing is huge. When it's scripted, it's just so robotic and the customer knows you're reading it, right? It's sort of like they think it's a one size fits all, and it really doesn't in self storage for sure. The customer is mainly just listening to that person when they're talking and not interacting. And it's really difficult for the employee to build rapport when you never interact with the customer. So we have more of a conversational viewpoint of the sales call, sounding more natural, adjusting to each other, that two-way discussion. It really does build trust and confidence in the customer's buying decision. Makes it just easier for them. Start with curiosity. And that really means that you're wanting to help the customer. So you're asking inquiring questions. And that means like, when do you plan on moving? What kind of items are you storing? Or how long do you think you'll need storage? Or have you ever rented before? Those are all good questions that lead you to more information about the customer, and not just clearly just size. Because I think if you just say, well, what size do you need? Well, you're making a lot of assumptions. And if they've called maybe another place, they may have only told them the size that they had, not what they actually need for them to have based on their goods. So you have to be very careful about that. You want to listen more than you talk. And I wish I would learn this lesson sometimes, because sometimes I talk too much and I find it at the end of the day, I don't even want to talk at all. But don't rush to the next topic. Let the customers finish their speaking, because sometimes we hear managers interrupt, and I think, wow, they had an opportunity to listen to what was going on, and listen for those emotions too, not just the facts. You want to also repeat the detail back. But remember, when you're in these calls, take notes. because then you'll remember who it was and what it was and the information, and not just what you know, interacted a little bit with, but you want to make sure that you take some notes so you can help, you know, I've even on my notes looked back and I said, oh, you said that you needed this and this. So I think we might be needing a wider door to get those items in. But again, you want to make those customers feel heard and get their follow-up information too, because you want to be able to find them again and call them back and say, hey, well, I only have one other space left, the size you were looking for, and I thought I better call you. It's getting close to the date you're going to be moving, and maybe you want, you know, maybe come in a day earlier so you can get that and not have it when you get there. I mean, you don't want them to lose out on the rental space. You want to remember to personalize the conversation. So instead of just, oh, our 10 by 10s are 189 a month, you want to try something else. Since you're storing, you know, like furniture and 2-bedroom apartment, our 10 by 10 is usually the best fit. Gives you really actually enough room to play with than, you know, paying for more space. So personalization is really important in the sales call. No matter how you look at it, you're not only selling the storage space, but you're selling yourself. I'm an advocate of having managers at the storage property. And I think it's so important because customers like the managers and they like to know that someone's there and then watching after their stuff. So you also want to replace really scripted phrases like, is there anything else I can help you with? That's instead of that, what other questions do you have for me? Or do you have any specific concerns that I haven't addressed? Or let's make sure you find the right solution for you. Even sometimes the small wording changes that if you listen to your calls and you think, oh, wow, I could have said that better. Oh, I didn't say that so well. It's not like you can edit it out when you're live with the customer. You know, you're going to have do it right. And it makes it a little bit more frustrating at time because, you know, you're basically live doing it and you can't easily change it. Also, offer information to make the move easier because you know what, this whole process is really stressful. And maybe, you know, get the customer a moving checklist, for example, or give them tips on moving and storing. Send them those. Have lists of good reputable movers because that's really important. You want to make sure that, and I know there are some owners that don't ever want to refer anyone or any other company or anything like that. And I get it. But if you do have a great mover and you know they're good, I think it really helps customers if you offer to share those types of things, especially if you know they're really good at what they do. And it doesn't mean that they're, you know, never going to have a problem with it. But again, I think people would prefer that, especially if they ask you, do you know any other movers? And just say, well, we normally don't recommend anyone, but if that's what your owner wants you to do, but we do have some that I could give you when you come in, or I can get you their information if you give me your email or something like that. Go from there. You want to also show empathy because many customers are experiencing bad things. And I'm going to start out with moving is bad. I get all stressed and whatever when I have to move. Divorce, that is no fun. And no matter how you look at it, that is going to be a stressful thing. Even I know downsizing is a positive thing in some ways. And in other ways for people, it's also losing maybe something that they, you know, if you're like when I put my mom from a house that I had for her and I put her into an assisted living place, that was downsizing that was not so good. So that didn't go so well. And that's where you can show empathy and say, you know, is there any particular reason, you know, you're downsizing if you want, or maybe they'll just tell you. A lot of time they do that. The other thing is military relocation. You know, those people go all the time. I like to even say thank you for your service once you know it's a service person. That's really important to do. Also, you'll hear maybe, you know, family emergencies or home remodeling. But try some things like I've been there too, or moving is no fun. That makes sense, you know, to what they have to say. And I'd be happy to help you. And let's find the best option together. And I think when they feel like they've got someone helping them, do this, it makes a big difference. And if you're there and you're seeing that the stress and frustration that they have in their voice, or if they're in the office and you can tell that they're just at wits end, your calmness will help them. The other thing is to keep that conversation on the phone moving. Even though you've got a conversation going, you want to make sure during this time you're understanding their needs. You're recommending the right unit size and hopefully one smaller, explaining the benefits to them also, because they need to know, the security, convenience, and the saving money, all of those things and how they're going to benefit. You want to also remember to invite them to visit, because if you're not inviting them to come down and look at it, you're missing a huge advantage that you have over someone else that's not going to be doing that. They give the basic information and they never say, hey, will you come look at it? I'd love to have you come look at it and you can choose which one you like. And so asking for that rental, but be friendly, because it doesn't mean you're unfocused. Because when you're friendly, you're interacting with the customer. And that's what we're really looking for. But get the customer to commit also. You want to make, step by step, but when would you like to stop by? Or I can reserve that unit for you today. Would tomorrow work for your visit? Let's get your move-in scheduled. So any of those would be great examples of the way you interact and try to get the customer to commit. The best self-storage sales calls don't really sound like sales calls. I think they take that genuine help that you want to give a person like you would your friend. And that makes the difference. And I think that when you're working and answering the phone, remember this sales call is not anything to worry about. You use that genuine love that you have to talk to people and to interact with them and help them solve their storage needs. And that makes it way easier. Well, thank you so much for listening. My name's again Carol Mixon. If you don't know me, you can find me on the web at www.skillcheck.com. And we've got lots of content on YouTube and other places. So, and if you want to get a hold of me, email me, no problem. Thank you for listening and happy renting.